Hi everyone and welcome to my channel. In this video, we are going to talk about top 10 most expensive mistakes ever made. Don't forget to smash the like button, share the video, and subscribe to the channel. For decades, the brightest minds in the world have created wonderful feats of engineering. Buildings, bridges, and forms of transportation. We live in an era of advancement. However, sometimes those projects have an error in their construction, or maybe even the design, or maybe it was an outside force that ruined the project. Either way, it caused a massive accident, and they were incredibly expensive to fix. Here are a few of these examples. 10. The 1988 Yellowstone fires. The conflagration that sprouted up in 1988 was the largest in the history of Yellowstone National Park. Initially, it was only a few small, individual fires, but they soon combined in a giant wildfire that burned for months. For the first time in its history, the park had to close. The fires lasted until it finally started to rain. By that time, 793,880 acres had been burned and 2 civilians had died. The whole thing cost over $267 million. 9. The collapse of the Sampoon department store. In 1987, the Sampoon Group built their self-titled department store over a landfill. Head of the construction division, Lee Jun, changed the design to cut out some support columns in favor of escalators. While Wusum Construction, the group originally in charge of building, rejected the changes, Jun simply fired them and continued anyway. Jun's ignorance, as well as them ignoring the cracks and warning signs before the event, cost a lot of people their lives. When the building collapsed in 1995, 502 people were injured and 1,445 were injured. The event also happened to flush $364 million down the drain. 8. New Jersey school funding fiasco. As a part of the federal Race to the Top program, many schools were supposed to receive additional funding to help improve their overall quality. However, New Jersey didn't supply the correct data for the program. They had even forgotten the budget information that compared its 2008 and 2009 school years. The state ended up missing out on $400 million worth of funding. 7. The 2005 Denver Airport computerized baggage handling fiasco. In 2005, the Denver airport attempted a new computerized automated system for handling baggage and baggage claim. Needless to say, it didn't work. Software failures caused the system to eat people's luggage. And because the designers didn't anticipate how complicated this would actually be, there were no recovery or backup systems. So it was unable to cope with and reboot after failures. This whole thing cost people $410 million. 6. The Pennsylvanian Johnstown flood. The Johnstown flood was caused in 1889 by the failure of the South Fork Dam. Locally, they call it the Great Flood of 1889. After unusually heavy rain, the dam just couldn't hold back the water anymore. Wealthy members of the South Fork Fishing and Hunting Club had actually made change to the dam that impaired its ability to withstand storms. And because of cover-ups relating to the flood's investigation, this wasn't discovered until 2016. The flood caused 2,209 deaths and $484 million in damages. 5. Sunshine Skyway bridge collapse. On May 9, 1980, a particularly bad rainstorm had struck Tampa, Florida. It was that rainstorm that caused an Oshima Shipbuilding Company freighter to crash into the Sunshine Skyway bridge. Since it hit a support column, almost 1,200 feet of the roadway instantly fell. 35 people were killed and even more were injured in the collapse. The captain of the ship, John Lara, was clear of any wrongdoing, but the bridge still cost more than $634 million to repair. 4. The Bhopal Disaster. The Bhopal Disaster of 1984 is considered one of the worst industrial ones in history. 3,787 people are estimated to have died, although there could have been more. Due to the amount of damage and exposure, it could be around 16,000. In addition, 558,125 people were injured. There was a massive pesticide leak, with many tanks at the plant failing to keep them at bay. Not to mention, other critical safety equipment simply hadn't been kept up. Outside of the terrible death toll, the Bhopal also cost $860 million to fix. 3. The collapse of the Charles de Gaulle Airport. In the early morning hours of May 23, 2004, a portion of the newly inaugurated Terminal 2E at Paris Charles de Gaulle Airport, CDG, collapsed, killing 4 people. The collapse near Gate E50 happened without any warning, killing 2 Chinese citizens, one from the Czech Republic and one from Lebanon. 3 other people near Gate 50E suffered injuries but survived the shocking event. When a building breaks down and collapses for no apparent reason, it can be a terrifying experience. Investigators were left to ponder how a structure less than a year old could fail in such a dramatic way. The 1,467-foot-long innovative concrete tube-style futuristic-looking terminal was designed by French architect Paul Andrew, an accomplished airport draftsman. Having also designed the French terminal for the English Channel Tunnel, Andrew used the principles of tunnel construction for the new airport terminal. Passengers passing through Terminal 2E praised the building, calling it beautiful and practical. With no internal roof supports, passengers could move through the terminal effortlessly. 2. B-2 stealth bomber crash. On 23 February 2008, a B-2 crashed on the runway shortly after takeoff from Andersen Air Force Base in Guam. The crash of the Spirit of Kansas 89-127, which had been operated by the 393rd Bomb Squadron, 509th Bomb Wing, Whiteman Air Force Base, Missouri, and which had logged 5,100 flight hours, was the first ever crash of a B-2. The two-officer crew, Major Ryan Link and Captain Justin Grieve, attempted to control the bomber but were unable to do so, and as one of its wingtips made contact with the ground, it ejected and survived the crash. The aircraft was destroyed, a total loss estimated at $1.4 billion US. This is equivalent to $1.76 billion in 2021. According to the Air Force Times, a private industry magazine, no munitions were on board. 9. The Air Combat Command Accident Board report states that classified material had been loaded onto the bomber the morning the aircraft was returning to Whiteman Air Force Base after a 4-month deployment in support of Pacific Air Force's continuous bomber presence. At Guam Naval Hospital, one pilot was evaluated and released and the second was hospitalized. A B-2 already in the air was called back to Andersen following the crash, where it and the other B-2s were grounded until an initial investigation into the crash was complete. 6 Boeing B-52s of the 96th Bomb Squadron, 2nd Bomb Wing at Barksdale Air Force Base, Louisiana, were deployed to replace the B-2s. The commander of the 509th Bomb Wing, Brig. Gen. Garrett Herrenkack, followed up on the incident by temporarily suspending flying operations for all 20 remaining B-2s to review procedures. Herrenkack termed the suspension a safety pause and stated that the B-2s would resume flying if called upon for immediate operations. The B-2 fleet returned to flight status on 15 April 2008, won the Navantia submarine that can't resurface. The old proverb for want of a nail about a king who lost his kingdom because his horse had a faulty shoe nail is a staple in school to teach us that the little things can make a world of difference. Like a mistake caused by a misplaced decimal point that can take years and cost billions to rectify. The S-80 class of submarines was conceived by Spain's Navantia to be a formidable ocean-going vessel that could do a variety of offensive and surveillance roles and also be a serious contender on the export market, for long dominated by French and German companies. However, the S-80 project has seemingly become a laughingstock for technology mismanagement and planning. The first of 4 S-80 class submarines was expected to be ready by 2015, but its builders and the Spanish Navy uncovered a potentially fatal flaw in its design in 2013. The first S-80 was over 100 tons heavier than specified, and serious doubts emerged about its capability to resurface from underwater. Personnel in Spain's Ministry of Defense later attributed the problem to the fact that the design team had misplaced a decimal point in weight calculations, and the Navy had added new systems to the submarines. I hope you liked it. If you did, let me know by giving it a thumb up, and do not forget to subscribe. Thanks for watching.